life is hard, and for that you always have ways, tools to go through and navigate through these processes in life. वो कहते हैं ना कि life is not a sprint, it's a marathon, it's an obstacle course, and to navigate through this obstacle course you need to have discourse, and to have the right discourse you need the right people, people who are certified, people who are equipped, जो लोग आपकी मदद कर सकते हैं. One person who's helped me in my journey, Bhavna Kohli, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining me on GST, Bhavna.
Thank you.
Bhavna is a certified life coach. She's done a couple of certifications. We're going to drop all of this down so you can get in touch with her also. She's also a marketing consultant and much more.
Why do I need to mindlessly keep watching what's happening? What is the purpose it's serving? And again, it falls into two buckets, right? There is this whole bucket of people you know. So your friends, your family, your neighbors, what are they doing? So it's a bit voyeuristic in the sense that हाँ उसकी लाइफ में क्या हो रहा है यार मुझे तो उससे बेटर करना है राइट एंड देन देयर इज दिस bunch which is influencers, the Kardashians of the world.
Kardashians.
Right? So we want to look at their life. Now Kim Kardashian has this beautiful house set up at Christmas where she has these amazing trees and she has a person coming and playing the piano every morning to wake her children up. Get real. When are we ever going to do that in our life? Think we will be happy when we are driving that Audi. We think we will be happy when we have that 5-carat solitaire. We think we will be happy when we'll be able to take 5 international holidays.
But वो तो होता ही है ना, खुशी तो मिलती है.
Is it excitement or is it happiness?
Is there a difference?
There is.
But
Excitement is very temporary. If you're truly a happy person, a lot of that comes from within. That's not so external. You partied really hard one night, okay? Whether you've had alcohol, not had alcohol, the next day you'll always feel low.
it's a no.
Because, but why is it a downer? It's actually not a downer. It's just an average everyday day. But the comparison or the setup is against your previous night, which was a banger. And then, because we don't want to face that downer, we're like, okay, what's the next concert? What's the next movie? What's the next party? What do I need to buy? Okay, now I bought the car. Okay, now that car is giving me pleasure for a week. Okay, what's my next music system?
How are you going to be happy then?
So we have to get off that hedonic treadmill. This was many years ago when I had started working and I was taking a flight, and this senior gentleman shared this with me, and it may sound a bit weird, but let me explain it. He told me that marriage is like a business. Okay, and I know that sounds very sleazy, but what his perspective, and that kind of really has stayed with me, is that what happens in a business? You have different teams. Somebody is good at finance, somebody is good at marketing, somebody is good at HR, somebody is good at legal. They all come together. When does that business become successful? When they all are working towards a common goal. Similarly, when you are in a marriage or a relationship, as long as you have common values, you have common goals, you have respect for each other, you work together, right? Of course, there has to be the chemistry, there has to be the love, there has to be the joy. But then, if you have the common values, you're working towards common goals, then a relationship will be successful.
But you know, that takes me to another category of people who believe that everyone in the room should be happy because of me. They have this little savior complex. They have this little people-pleasing complex, and they get into this zone of being people's persons. Now, what I want to ask you is, because the job that I do, the nature of the job that I do, I'm a very people's person. But लेकिन वो एक thin line होती है कि आप people person से people pleaser बन जाते हो. And once you become that trod and go on to the other side of becoming a people pleaser, it is the hardest thing to handle. Why?
Yeah.
Because you're exhausted at the end of the day. सबको हाँ सबको खुश करते करते आप में कुछ ऐसा रह जाता है जो एकदम खाली रह जाता है at the end of the day, and you start feeling hollow.
And you start resenting them.
Yeah, because you're like, but they never asked to feel
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah. So people pleasing versus being a people's person are two very different things. People often think that people pleasers are doing it because they want to be, they want others to be happy. Actually, they just do it because they want to be liked and they want to be happy. And somewhere in their own head, they have taken on this mantle that they are responsible for other people's emotions. Because if I say no, the other person is going to be offended. But how are you responsible for the other person's emotions? You're not. And that does not mean that you're being rude or you're being aggressive, right? But it is not your job to make sure that every person in the room is happy. Of course, it's your parents, it's your spouse, it's your child. You have a certain responsibility towards them. You will take care of them. But even in that, you are not responsible for how they feel. That is their job. That is not your job.
Somewhere do you think culturally we here, I'm not just talking about our country, but worldwide, we culturally, universally मैं बात कर रहा हूँ, ये थोपा गया है कि we are responsible for other people's happiness when it comes to immediate family?
Yeah. So I think we get into this tendency that अगर मैंने नहीं बोला या नहीं किया तो उसको बुरा लगेगा. Then there is this overhang, and I do think it's more of an Indian-Asian overhang, not Indian-Asian overhang, where we feel that children owe it to their parents. We owe it to our spouse. We don't owe anything to anyone.
That's quite a mic drop.
We don't. See, our job is to show up as a good, happy person, support the people in our closest relationships, create good times. If you have a child, then it is your responsibility to create a certain infrastructure for that child to grow up, both physically, financially, emotionally. But that's where your role stops.
It's like a very beautiful thing. मैंने कहीं सुना था ये रील्स पे ही देखा था कि एक बंदा पूछता है कि what is the job of a coach?
Yeah.
Does the coach play the game? No.
No.
The coach is just giving instructions,
Absolutely.
standing out, watching, gauging क्या हो रहा है अच्छा बुरा, and then
Correct.
taking the necessary steps. The coach never goes to play.
So I'll give you a simple example, okay? And this was something somebody shared to me. So there was a while back, I was getting worked up about something that was related to my child. And one of my friends just told me that in the night when you sleep, is your child alive? You are not monitoring your child when you are asleep. Your child is still surviving and thriving, right? So that's a very small example. But if you actually zoom out, what that means is that every individual, even your own child, has their own journey, has their own life. That's not to say that we need to shirk off our responsibilities, but we can't be responsible for everything for every other person. And as far as people pleasing is concerned, Glenn, it's from a very selfish space. And I use the word selfish because I do it, I or whoever, when I say I mean a person does it because they are uncomfortable with how they would feel if they said no. I don't want to stay with that discomfort. So in that moment, it's easier for me to say yes and do it. The repercussion is in the long run when the resentment starts building in.
Because I have said yes without it being my will and wish.
Like, let's take this as an example, right? Like, if you remember, you asked me for this podcast almost a month ago. And I told you, I cannot do it. I do not have the bandwidth.
Right.
Right? And we're here a month down the line and we're doing it. Now, hypothetically, if that 1 month ago, I said, "Nahi yaar, how can I say no to Glenn?" And I stretched myself and I would have come here and done it. I would have done it, but somewhere in the back of my head, I would have been like, I should have, mere ko itna kaam hai. I should have gone and finished that. What? I couldn't say no to it, right? Now, this is a very small example, but this is what happens. And when it's in a close relationship and it's constant, then the resentment starts.
So it's like even in, between couples, कभी एक हो सकता है people pleaser है, या दूसरा हो सकता है who is very assertive, and this people pleaser is constantly trying to say, okay, no, I will do everything.
That relationship will collapse. That relationship will collapse because the person will say, I have done so much for you.
Happens.
And the other person will come back and say, but I didn't ask you to do it.
Khatam.
Right? So I think it's very important to lay out your expectations. And as far as people pleasing is concerned, I think it's very important to have boundaries. And boundaries is unfortunately a culturally a very negative word because it's construed as something super selfish.
What is the limit or the threshold when you say boundaries? I'll ask you this question. Why I'm asking you from a very Asian perspective.
Yeah.
देसी घरों में अगर आप कहें तो बाउंड्रीज आपको चाहिए,
हाँ.
क्या बाउंड्री की जरूरत है तुम्हें?
हाँ.
क्या बाउंड्री क्या होती है ये?
Yeah.
बच्चों की बाउंड्रीज. फॉर एग्जाम्पल मैं बहुत ही सिंपल एग्जाम्पल दे रहा हूँ. इफ यू एंटर अ चाइल्ड्स रूम,
Yeah.
पहले एनीबडी कुड एंटर द रूम और तो आप चल जाते. अब आप नॉक करके एंट्री करते हो कि मे आई कम इन.
Yep.
तो कुछ घरों में वो देखा जाएगा एज व्हाट डू यू मीन मे आई कम इन. घर तुम्हारा है, वो बच्चा रह रहा है वहाँ पे.
Correct.
और in some households it will be said, this is very nice.
Yeah.
You're teaching the child from a very young age, from a very nascent stage.
Respect. So to me, Glenn, the boundary, I think for me, the litmus test is the respect quotient. As long as it's not disrespectful, as long as it's not rude, as long as it is not selfish, the boundary is fine. And boundaries, I think, unfortunately, a lot of song and dance is made about spelling out boundaries. Actually, you don't need to. The boundaries start here. For example, if I say something to you and, you start having a reaction to it, I don't need to tell you that, Glenn, you're crossing a boundary. All I need to in my head say is, it's okay, keep your stuff there. Boundary is not necessarily about the other person not saying something. Boundary is about, even when the other person is saying something, you are not letting it get into your space. It's that proverbial actually line in the stand where you say that, okay, even if the person is reacting, saying, etc., I'm not going to let it cross that line for me.
I'm not going to react.
I am not. So in my head, it's like, okay, that's not my stuff, that's your stuff, keep it there.
But after
I don't need to articulate it. In my head, because the moment I feel that I have to react or respond to what that other person is feeling is when the friction starts. That other person is justified in feeling or saying what they want. Those are their emotions. Those are not my emotions. It is not my responsibility to attend to those emotions. Similarly, when I feel negatively about something, it is not theirs. It is my responsibility to deal with my emotions and not to expect XYZ person to deal or sort out my emotions.
So technically, what I'm trying to understand is कि अगर आपको किसी को ना बोलना है, तो आप उसे assertive तरीके से बोल सकते हैं. Say no to a person very nicely, be very assertive. But what they feel after that is their lookout.
So,
they need to
like
handle
again,
it.
coming back to the example, right? Like I told you, I can't do it. I could have said, "क्या यार, Glenn, मेरे पास time नहीं है अभी," right? That's rude. All I needed to say was, "Boss Glenn, I'm sorry, I can't do it right now. I don't have the bandwidth." Now, if you felt bad about it,
I would have to handle it myself. Yeah.
that you're a grown adult. You're not a 2-year-old having a tantrum, right?
Yeah.
You're a grown adult. You need to handle it for yourself.
I've realized एक और चीज़ जो हम अक्सर करते हैं जब हमने अगर फ़ोन मिस किया किसी का, और ये मैं करता था पहले, नाउ आई स्टार्टेड करेक्टिंग दिस कॉन्शियसली. फ़ोन मिस किया और मैं बिजी था काम में, तो आप इमीडिएटली अपना फ़ोन निकाल के रिप्लाई या उनको मैसेज भेजते हैं, सॉरी आई कुडंट आंसर योर कॉल. और बहुत बार सॉरी ओवर सॉरी हो जाता है किसी चीज़.
Why are you sorry?
मैं काम कर रहा था.
You were busy.
Yes.
So this is another thing that we have to, again, it takes me back to the thing that we have to respect our time, right? We have to respect ourselves. We have to respect our goals. So I know it's sounding a bit selfish, but it's not, because till you don't focus on yourself, you don't understand what your priorities are, you don't understand who you are, what you are, you will constantly be waylaid by other people's expectations. You will constantly be waylaid by cultural expectations, and then you will end up being unhappy because all of what you're doing, thinking, being is not what you really want.
Even if I find that time for myself, like you said, I've taken out time for myself, I've figured out मुझे क्या चाहिए, कैसा चाहिए. Establishing boundaries, even if I know who I am as a person, establishing boundaries at workplace can be a very challenging thing. Because you have a mission, you have bills to pay. At that point of time, a normal person like me or anybody who's watching us wouldn't be able to say, boss, nahi karna hai mujhe. How do you manage to establish those boundaries from day one? You are a likable personality in office, but you still want to tell people that don't walk over me. How do you do that?
So I think, unfortunately, Glenn, what happens is people are very afraid to say no.
नौकरी जा सकती है.
क्यों नौकरी जाएगी? It's not that today you are slacking at work. See, I think it's very important to understand what is work, what is a deliverable at work, versus saying yes to everything. Right? So I'm not saying that when you're when you're asked to do a particular assignment, you just turn around and say, no, I can't. Right? But it's also, if your boss tells you repeatedly that, no, you need to come into work on your off day every day. No. That's absolutely fine.
Yeah, right now we know a lot of people who are getting a lot of flack for saying work 90 hours. Why are you going to, why don't you come to office on a Sunday?
Right?
What are you going to do staring at your spouse?
Now again, to me, the whole point is, I don't think it's about when it's about boundaries or saying no, it's about saying no to everything. I think it's about saying, I'm doing this and I will get to that when I'm done with this.
What I like about what she just said is there's always a way to say things.
That
You've got to figure it out.
No, and I think I think we're all wise enough to know when what is critical and what is not. Right? I don't think everything can be critical or everything can be urgent or everything is needed now. And if that's the case, then you're in the wrong place, boss. Because no organization can constantly want everything right now.
On a Saturday night or on a Sunday night, immediate PPT client is waiting right now. They need to give an answer.
It's not possible. See, there'll always be exceptions. There'll always be that one time. But you have to figure out a way to prioritize and do things without compromising yourself all the time.
When we're talking about prioritizing and compartmentalizing things, like आपने शुरुआत में ही बात की थी इसके बारे में, it's very important to compartmentalize your mind.
Yep.
Now we spoke about the problems and all that can happen in हमारी रोजमर्रा की जिंदगी में. What is compartmentalizing the mind and how do you do it? Like, are you saying अब मैं आपसे बात कर रहा हूँ, so only think of this conversation, be present right now?
Yes.
Is that
So the compartmentalize is actually just that word, right? To create compartments does not mean the other thing goes away. So for example, when I'm sitting and meditating, does that mean that the rest of my work is going to vanish? No. But when I sit and I meditate for that 10 minutes, 15 minutes in the morning, or when I go to the gym for that hour and a half, or I go out for a cup of coffee for half an hour, the rest of the stuff is not gone away. It's still going to be waiting for me when I get back. But what happens is when I get back rejuvenated, calmer, versus me saying I don't have that 10 minutes to meditate. In fact, when you feel like you don't have the time to meditate is when you need it the most. For people who say that I can't meditate, they are the ones who actually need it the most.
interesting? Because I feel that ये हमें on a daily basis करना भी ज़रूरी है, that we be present where we are. Like for example, बहुत बार मैं ना जब कभी किसी से बात कर रहा होता हूँ या टीवी देख रहा होता हूँ, मैं अपने फ़ोन पे भी स्क्रॉल कर रहा हूँ.
Multitasking.
क्योंकि then gives again 10 चीज़ें करनी है. I realize this about my habit with eating food. मैं जब खाना खाता था, I used to inhale my food. खाना आ गया, that is why I could. My partner has just gone to get something.
And your food is done.
I'm done.
Yeah.
She's probably sat down on the table. I've washed the dishes. I'm done. I'm very task oriented. No.
Yeah.
Kaam khatam. I like the kaam khatam checkbox.
So this is a problem, right? A lot of people have this kaam khatam, what next? Kaam khatam, what next? To-do list never gets over. You'll knock one thing off, 2 will get added. You'll knock another one off, 4 will get added. So I think really, for me, the learning and the growing in the last 4-5 years, actually since COVID, has been that when you are doing something, do it fully.
Be present over there.
Be present. Enjoy it. Not easy when you have 30 emails, 20 WhatsApp, 5 calls all to answer. But I think what we have to keep reminding ourselves is, no matter how many calls, how many emails, how many messages you answer, by the time you finish answering them, there'll be another 30 lined up. So I'm not saying don't answer them. All I'm saying is that when you're doing something, be fully present. When you're having that cup of coffee, take that 5 minutes out. Like literally take that 5 minutes out and totally savor that coffee. Smell it. Hold the cup. It's simple things like when you're literally washing your hands. Like this is how you can take these small mindfulness breaks in the day without really saying, oh, now I need to take out 1 hour to do meditation. Right? When you wash your hands, are you actually even realizing the sensation of the water when you're washing your hands? When you're eating, like you said you're having your meal with your spouse. For that half an hour, can you forget everything else? Can you keep your phones away? Can you actually taste the food, talk to each other? When was the last time you looked your wife in the eyes while you were having a conversation instead of looking at the phone? It's simple things like these, right?
My problem is not the phone. I look at the food. I'm in love with the food. It's like, "Arey, upar to dekh." Like when we went on a date, she's like, "Can you please
Look at me."
How beautifully I'm like, perfect. 1 second. And I don't wear this as a badge of honor. And I've really corrected this habit. And I'll tell you why I also corrected this habit, because I realized it was giving me bloating, indigestion, because I was just swallowing my food. So now I put a timer. Yeah. It's like a little game that I have to trick my mind into saying this is a game. We're going, I love this sporty things. Yeah. So I keep a stopwatch next to me and I'm eating. And I feel like I'm eating in some really big Michelin star restaurant. So I eat very slowly. And I will do that, and it's really funny because I actually start counting 32 bites, like, and I'm like, okay, Glenn eats slowly. So I built this eventually. Even like, for example, if I'm watching something on TV, I keep my phone away and I tell them, "Nahi bhai, udhar dekh. Yahan bhi dekh raha hai, wahan bhi dekh raha hai."
So listen, see, this is an endless thing. It's not that I don't struggle with this. There are times where I'm also watching TV and I'm suddenly on the phone, and then I have to tell myself so there's nothing wrong with it. What I'm trying to say is that the moment you realize you're doing this, put it away. And I'm a big fan of meditation. I do believe that it's one of the most important ways of rewiring our mind every single day. We all, like I said earlier, we all have crazy busy lives. It's a reboot. It's like parking your car in the garage every night. You do that in the morning, you go, you put it on. We don't know, do we keep our cars running 24 hours? We don't, right? So it's, to me, that first half an hour of the morning without the phone, meditation, some healthy intake of dry fruits followed by a cup of tea. That's my quiet me time in the morning. The first half hour where I don't want to look at anyone else, I don't want to talk to anyone.
You know, when you speak about meditation, I was going to talk about this very importantly, because meditation जब बच्चों को सिखाया जाता है schools में, and at least this is what I've learned, so I don't want to generalize this, कि आप एक कैंडल को देखेंगे, कैंडल की वो जो फ्लेम है उस पर फोकस करेंगे. अब मैं ऑल बॉयज स्कूल का, कैंडल की फ्लेम को देखना, हम सारे लड़के बैठ के देख रहे हैं, घूर रहे हैं, ये बोल रहा है तुझे क्या दिख रहा है, वो बोल रहा है. मेडिटेशन नहीं हो रहा है, कॉमेडी हो रही है वहाँ पे. And I had this very wrong understanding of what meditation can. I found my meditation and prayer in the gym, because I realized every time I pushed a weight, every time I would lift something, the inhalation, exhalation, I was only focusing on my breath. My breath was aligned with my nervous system. And when my breath was aligned with my nervous system, I felt alive. I was not thinking of anything. Kuch problem, kuch nahi. Just breathing. My prayer, between every set I finish, I would sit with my hands and I would say, "Thank you for I'm alive. I can't believe this. Thank you so much for this." My prayer was never, "Mujhe ye dena, wo dena." My prayer was just, wow. Thank you for making me feel so good. And I think that's why most people in the gym feel this me time, meditative space. But looking at so many things that are available on the internet, we're constantly doing this wellness shopping every day.
Spiritual shopping, wellness shopping
कर रहे हैं, कुछ ये कर रहा है, कुछ वो कर रहा है. And मैंने एक constant ढूंढ लिया है जिम में. I find my peace there and I feel everything I find my answers there. I feel God talks to me over there. But there are times when people who may not find it in the gym will say, ये नहीं काम कर रहा है, चलो दूसरा करते हैं, चलो दूसरा तीसरा करते हैं. Again, there is an information overload. So what do you do then in this situation?
So, actually, Glenn, here there are lots of pieces to unpack, and I'm going to take them all one by one. So for you, the fact that meditation happens in the gym. Now, you said you shared a lot of nuggets there. Focused on your breathing. You're focused on what you're doing. You're enjoying that moment. That's what meditation is about. unfortunately, people go into meditation with a lot of expectations. Ki matlab, I will sit for 10 minutes the first day and I'll come out feeling like I'm walking on air and nothing will disrupt me in the day. No, that's not how meditation works. So first of all, when they say focus on your breathing, it's basically about trying to soothe your nervous system, right? First. Secondly, it's about cutting out the noise that is there. Does that mean you won't get thoughts? No, that is exactly what meditation is about. That you learn the power of letting thoughts come and letting them drift away, just like clouds. The blue sky always exists. The clouds come and the clouds go. And that's what we really have to train ourselves to do. We have to be disciplined to do that. But that doesn't mean you start putting pressure on yourself. Like people will sit in meditation and stressing, "Arey yaar, mere se meditation nahi ho rahi." That's not what meditation is. It's about being gentle. It's about saying, okay, I'm getting thoughts, no problem. Let them come, let them go. I'm just going to focus on my breathing.
You want to share that black box theory you shared with me?
Why don't you share it?
This after Kim Kardashian, this changed my life. Okay. So if you're not getting context about why Kim Kardashian, go watch the episode from the start or go listen to it from the start. It's very interesting. Kim Kardashian changed my life. So black box theory is for overthinkers. So people who have an overstimulated brain. मैंने इनसे पूछा था कि कभी-कभी डर लगता है कि आगे क्या करूं, डर है. Now the cliche statement would be डर के आगे जीत है. But there was a cooler statement. Bhavna told me that the life is going to be constant. You're going to be constantly surrounded by problems, issues. What next? आपको बस इतना करना है. Imagine a black box in front of you. Take all those problems, उस black box में डाल दो. Now shut your eyes and imagine this as we are talking and as you're watching this or probably listening to this. Shut your eyes, put all those problems into that black box. Now take that black box and keep it in one corner of the room. You are very much aware that all those problems exist. But in front of you at this moment, there is nothing. You can take that left foot, right foot and put it forward. You have taken that first step. Most of the times in our lives, we require just that one step, that one little push. And then we eventually figure out. It won't solve your problem. It will give you the himmat, which is most important to take that step.
But also the fact that the more we push things away, right, the harder it becomes for them to disappear. So coming back to the black box and the negative emotions, the whole point of putting them in a black box is not to wish them away, but it's to just, in that moment to stop fighting them, to stop pushing them away. They still exist, but they're sitting in a box in the same room as you, but you're not wrestling with them. And that's the same in meditation. When you observe an emotion, a negative emotion, the objective is not to push that negative emotion. It's just to say, okay, I'm feeling irritated right now. I'm feeling sad right now. I'm feeling angry. I'm feeling itchy. My arm is itchy. That doesn't mean that we need to start wrestling with that feeling. As long as we observe it, and I know it sounds a bit strange right now. You'll only understand it when you do it. Is when you observe, okay, I am feeling itchy right now. Fine, no problem. I'm going back to my breath. And then that feeling gradually fades away. Does it disappear? Will it recur? Of course it will. But I think it's about in that moment not getting so engrossed with that negative emotion, because that's when it becomes harder to disengage from it and to get out. The other thing that I want to share, and I'm going to try and do this with an example of the gym, since you're a complete gym addict, okay? When you start going to the gym, do you start lifting 100 kgs on the first day?
Not possible.
First thing, when do you go to the gym? When you make that determination, I'm going to be fit, I'm going to go to the gym. So
You made up your mind.
So first you made up your mind, you're promising yourself, I need to do something for myself to be healthy. First. Secondly, when you go, do you go on the first day? And like we said, you're not comparing yourself to somebody who's been training for, let's say, 5 years, 2 years, 3 years. That person is lifting 100, 150 kgs. I'll try that. I'm going to pop my shoulder out, right? So you start
Small.
Now, when do you see success? When you show up consistently in a disciplined manner, day after day after day. So let's say for the first week, you lift 10 kgs. Second week, you go to 20. Then you go to 30 and so on and so forth. You may have an off day. You've partied hard. You may not be able to go in the morning. You push yourself, you go in the evening, you're still not able to work out the way you worked out the previous day. But you don't get discouraged. You still come back the next day. So you do it consistently. you also seek aspiration, right? Okay, you say, okay, now how do I get fitter and better? Am I going to only come here and work out? Yeah, but if I'm not eating right, if I'm not sleeping well, if I'm having a lot of alcohol, will I be able to see progress in my workout? No. So naturally, you'll see when you're working out hard, you will start becoming more mindful of how you eat, what you eat, whether you're sleeping well or not, because you will not be able to do your workout well if you don't take care of all those things. And even if you are able to work out, you won't see results. So it's like this, like if you work out every day, but then I go home and have a pizza, a burger, samosas, followed by some sodas, I'm not going to get physically fit. So there is the other environment that also starts playing its role. And when do I actually see the results? I start seeing small changes, but the real result is something that becomes apparent to me after 6 months, 1 year, 2 years. It's like the passport photograph. You only realize how much you've changed when you see that passport photograph after 2 years, 5 years. Now, I'm not saying that you need to wait for 2 years to see the results from meditation. What I'm trying to say is that you have to start small. Start with 2 minutes. Start with 1 minute. Start with 5 minutes. Don't expect to do 1 hour of meditation the first day you do it. Don't expect to do meditation like a monk does. Be consistent. Show up. Do it 3 times a week. Do it 4 times a week. But do it. Hungover, please do it. If it doesn't feel as good today as it felt yesterday, please come back tomorrow and do it again. And gradually you'll see, Glenn, that when you start practicing meditation and mindfulness, a lot of the other pieces also you will start shifting, right? And that's what it's about. It's about understanding that nothing works in isolation. These are all connected pieces and they'll all start falling in place. But you have to, in all of this, there is one key word, which is discipline and consistency.
You mentioned this in the beginning itself. Discipline is so important
To
to
me,
show up.
discipline is self-love. Self-love is not going for a massage. Self-love is not going shopping. Self-love is not a spa day. I'm not saying don't do all of that.
There are aspects of
But
self-love.
self-love really is being disciplined about what is good for you.
You know, I want to say this thing about when you said about when you start meditating or when you start doing something that you like, when you shift your focus onto yourself and focus on your health, a lot of things, I'm not saying everything gets solved, but बहुत सारी चीजें आपके वो हित में आ जाती है. जैसे we had a football club and we still have that football club. It's called 6 a.m. FC. 6 a.m. FC is a football club of every working professional in my group, and Saturday morning is the game, which means none of the boys go out on Friday nights.
Yeah.
They're at their house. They're trying to at least sleep on time. There is an excitement and a thrill that we have to reach the ground by 5:45, 5:30 to do our warm-up. So everybody's woken up early. It's a great start. And everybody's so energized and happy, which helps them reboot over the weekend as opposed to,
Correct.
there could be another choice you could have made.
Correct.
Gone partied.
No, which is fine.
Which is
too.
okay, absolutely
There's
okay.
nothing wrong with it.
But it's a what you said, it's good for you.
That is self-love.
Yeah.
And I think that the thing, coming back to the spiritual shopping or even like fitness shopping, right? The reason that happens is because we're looking, again, instant gratification. We're looking for quick results. We don't have the discipline. Oh, gym is not working for me. I've tried it for 1 month. What will I do next? I'll do Pilates. Oh, Pilates is not working for me. Now I'll try to do yoga. Oh, yoga is not working for me. I'll go and do cardio. I mean, of course, you have to figure out what works for you, and there's no harm moving from one to the other. You're not wedded to it, right? But I think this wanting results very quickly, wanting results without putting in that effort, whether it's relationships, whether it's exercise, whether it's meditation, spirituality. Like people are, oh, today we are following one thing, then we are following another thing, then we are following a third thing. Is because we're not giving things the discipline and the time that it needs for us to see the results.
Everything now, just listening to everything is time. वो बोलते ना हम वक्त के मोहताज हैं.
Yeah.
Time can heal everything.
Yeah.
Time can change everything. But it's very, very important to give that time.
You have to give time its time.
I think it's time. You've left it on a very high note. It's time to give time for time to work in your favor or to do anything for you. Wow, this was spiritual intoxication. We had a great chat. I loved what you said about excitement and happiness. That's really stayed with me. Excitement is what we're seeking for every second. I want a dopamine hit every second. If I was truly happy and if I'm searching and if I'm a happy person, then I'll be content.
And you know what my worry is, Glenn? Unfortunately, parents today are constantly stimulating their children. Again, this is a cultural thing, right? My child needs to be constantly doing something. Why? Why are you not letting your child be bored?
I grew up feeling bored at times.
And
Just
that's
later.
the house of creativity, right? Right? I mean, I remember having summer vacations doing nothing. And what did we land up doing? Sitting in a cousin's house, aam ke ped pe chad gaye, right? Simple things like that. Nothing to do. It's raining, made paper boats out of magazine papers and put them into the nala, right? Whatever. Today, children are either on their devices or they're in a class or they're going for some dance class, some painting class, some football class, some something. Why are kids not allowed to be bored?
I feel
Even on a holiday.
I feel some parents, I would just generally feel that वो थोड़ा सा ostracize लाते हैं बच्चे. अगर आपने उनको ये क्लास में नहीं भेजा, वो क्लास में नहीं भेजा, बच्चे वो
But again, it's fear, no? Again, Glenn, it comes back to we operating out of fear. So I'll give you a very classical example of what happened with us. A few years ago, when my daughter was about, I want to say, 12, we were going to go to Darjeeling for a holiday and we were going to go to a tea estate. And I knew before going there that the tea estate has very poor network, which meant no phones, no iPads, no connectivity per se. And I was a little afraid, but I said, okay, let's see how this goes. And it turned out to be fabulous. My daughter spent time in the outdoors. She found a hammock. She found some dogs. She was running around with them. She discovered a piano. She started banging out some music. We as a family discovered board games. We were doing that. We were walking. We were taking hikes. To the extent that my daughter, for whom I was afraid, I was scared that she's going to drive me crazy with no access to the internet, actually said, Mom, I have really enjoyed this holiday. When can we come back again?
Wow.
So I think it's more in our mind where we feel like we feel scared that we'll have to entertain our kids.
It's all the time.
Right? Go to a restaurant today on a table where there are 4 kids. All 4 will be on their devices. Kids don't call up and talk to each other on the phone. They only communicate via text and text on Instagram.
Or
Snapchat, right? Why are people not talking? I think this whole thing, yes, so if your child is bored, so what? Go figure it. Why? So again, what we're doing is culturally, we are normalizing or we have normalized this need for constant stimulation.
मुझे लगता है बचपन से ही अगर कोशिश करनी चाहिए, एक अटेम्प्ट होना चाहिए. इट्स वेरी इजी फॉर मी टू से कि भाई फ़ोन मत दो अपने बच्चों को. But the point is that a lot of parents find it a little easy because it eases out the stress from the entire day.
It's only that. I'm a firm believer that parents who say कि बच्चा नहीं मानता है is because you don't want to sit with that child and spend some time.
It's a very hard fact and I agree with you on
and
this.
I know a lot of people will curse me right now saying, no, you don't know my child. So I have a nephew who is now 4 and hats off to his mother. He has no screen time. He has no screen time except for half an hour each on a Saturday and a Sunday. But that's because she puts in a lot of effort. She sits with him and she'll make him color. She'll take him to the wholesale market to buy fruits. So she is engaging him in the real world. It's very easy to give a child a phone and say, karo, right? I think the reason we do that is because it eases us from having to actually work with the child. And it is work. To engage, to stimulate the child is work. But it has to be done.
Yeah, I mean, it's a responsibility.
Yeah. I mean, how many kids do you see? You'll see small kids sitting. The nanny or the mother is feeding and the child is watching something. They have no idea what they're eating, right? So from such a young age, we are teaching them and normalizing stimulation when it's not needed. We are normalizing multitasking, and then we complain कि बच्चा क्लास में attention नहीं pay करता.
और फिर there's a fit that the child is throwing.
Yeah.
Because I need my screen time. It's because we have given them
The child has not come out from the womb watching TV, na? Or watching the phone. You have handed over the phone to the child. So you can't now blame the child. And it's very easy to say, oh, all the other friends have it. Okay, I'm not saying don't give your child a screen. But I think till we don't exercise those limits and norms and those boundaries for ourselves as parents, right? If we are going to be guilty while talking to our child of constantly being on the phone, then we cannot tell that child, get your nose out of the phone.
Yeah, because बच्चा वहाँ से कॉल कर रहा है और आपने फ़ोन पे है. बच्चा वही देख रहा है. बच्चे वही सीखते हैं जो वो देखते हैं.
Correct. So you know, for example, why don't families have a rule that says that after dinner, when you're sitting together, no phones? How far? I'm not saying, I see it's a hyper-connected world. You need to be connected to your work. You need to be connected to other people. I get that. But what I don't understand is this need for constantly being connected, constantly replying. What will happen if you reply to that email or that WhatsApp message after 1 hour? Will someone die?
Give it that break. Give it that.
So I think we as a family first need to enforce certain rules if we want our children to learn from us.
मैं अपने घर में यही rule है. Whenever my parents come over to my place, I say I keep all the phones, especially during dinner. I take all the phones, I keep it away.
Yeah.
I said even if you're not talking, no,
Yeah.
let's focus on the food.
Yeah.
Like we can have a chat, we'll have a chat or two, and then sometimes it's like, क्या कर रहा है? And I'm like, phones away, dad. We need to
Yeah.
just keep this away. And I made a rule. It's been like 5 years when I moved to my other apartment. मैं TV नहीं on करता जब मैं खाना खाता हूँ. आप खाना खा रहे हैं ना, even if I'm sitting alone.
So it's actually, you know, Glenn, it's very simple things.
बहुत basic
It's
चीज़ें
very
हैं.
simple things. And I don't want to sit and preach here about, things like, you know, shut your phone 1 hour before you go to bed, no screen. Everyone knows it. Nobody is, not aware of these
Right.
things. But I just think, to me, the bottom line really is self-love. Do you love yourself enough to do the things that are good for you, to do the things that are important for you?
And if you are aware, वो कहते हैं ना फ्लाइट में कि
Your own oxygen mask.
सहायता करने से पहले
Correct.
खुद की सहायता करें. But
Correct.
if you're aware, if you know what you want, if you've established those boundaries, and this is a long पूरी जिंदगी है figure out करने के लिए.
And it doesn't need to be done all in one day, right?
yeah.
You start small. छोटी चीजें पहले करो, right?
Yeah, even the
Figure
Kardashian
out-
sisters have different talents.
Yeah.
Not all of them are the same.
Exactly, right? You can't do it all. You start small.
You can't. That's a nice. That also has a ring to it. You can't do it all. You start small, but you have to start somewhere. तो शुरू करो इस episode के बाद. Figure it out. We're dropping Bhavna's socials also, so you can go get in touch with her in case you want to ask her questions. And this was another fulfilling, amazing episode of GST. Bhavna, thank you so much for joining
Thank
us.
you. Thank you for
Wow,
having me.
what a conversation. And that's cut.